everyone. We are the Group 8, and the topic that we tackled today is all about the creating rubrics. So, when we say rubrics, is an assessment tool or a set that criteria for evaluating performance or work completed in a course or a program. A rubric can communicate the expectation for learning and provide a frameworks for instructors to make decisions about instruction. So, in short, these are typically used to score student performance on defined criteria and levels of quality or intellectual or skill development. And the first reporter is no other than Mr. Ruel Galulu.
Survey model. Ito yung nagde-describe sa mga procedure na gagawin mo sa isang activities. Kumbaga dito sila nagbabase sa mga ginagawa mong outputs para malaman nila kung saklaw o tama ba ang iyong ginagawang proyekto. Show students example of good and not so good work. Identify the characteristic that make the good ones good and the bad ones bad. In this survey model, to cope and enhance this kind of rubric, dapat as a teacher, kailangan mo mag-set ng mga example, whether it's good or not, and gives your opinion about it, para malaman nila ng husto kung ano pa ba ang kanilang i-improve. Define criteria. From the discussion on the models, identify the qualities that define a good work. So, as a teacher, kailangan mong i-pinpoint or i-determine yung ease and readiness. Kailangan mo rin i-discuss it thoroughly para malaman nila or ma-interpret ang mga expectation mo sa kanilang mga outputs. Agree on the levels of quality. Describe the best-worst level of quality, then fill in the middle based on your knowledge of common problems and the discussion of not so good work. This means that if may magandang output or di, medyo kailangan mong ipaliwanag kung ano pa ang kanilang i-enhance na skills and creativeness or any skills that would develop their full potential as a learner.
Practice on models. Using the agreed criteria and levels of quality, evaluate the models presented in the step 1 together with the students. As we all know, in the criterion of an rubrics can improve their learning experiences. So, ipinapakita dito na dapat ginagamitan ito ng hakbang upang mas maunawaan palalo ng mga estudyante ang ipinapahiwatig ng nasa nilalaman, and also ginagamitan din ito ng evaluation the person and also to practice their student to enhance their skills and abilities. And also student can be used for marking assignments, class participation, or overall the grades. Then number 5, use self and peer assessment. Give the student as they work, stop them occasionally for self and peer assessment. In self-assessment are more often used as a part of formative assessment process rather than the summative one, while peer assessment is assessment which allows students to assess each other performance. Teachers should promote their student understanding of their learning. Bilang guro ay kailangan magbigay ng gawain base sa kanyang dinidiscuss sa kanyang estudyante kung ito ba ay may natutunan. And also, ikaw as a teacher, dapat alam mo kung ano ang nararapat gawin sa iyong mga estudyante at hindi mo ito pinapahirapan sa paggawa ng proyekto. Then, number 6 is revise. Always give the student time to revise their works based on the feedback they get in step 5. So here, as a teacher, giving feedback to your student work or course, you need to give them enough time to revise their tasks and enable them to know and be able to correct their mistakes. Then number 7, use teacher assessment. Use the same rubric student used to assess their work yourself. After giving enough time to revise their work or output, of course, as a teacher, it is necessarily to use the same rubrics in order for them to properly assess themselves on what they should have to do. Hello, everyone. The topic that I will discuss now is desired characteristic of criteria for classroom rubrics. So, the desired characteristic of criteria for classroom rubrics are appropriate, definable, observable, distinct from one another, complete, and able to support description along a continuum of quality. So the first characteristic of criteria is appropriate. Each, each criterion represents an aspect of a standard curricular goal or instructional goal or objectives that students are intended to learn. So, characteristics of the criteria should be appropriate. Through rubrics, features criteria appropriate to an assessment purpose, and they describe the criteria across a continuum of performance level. The presence of both criteria and performance level description distinguish rubrics from other kind of evaluation tools. The next characteristic is definable. Each criterion has clear, agreed upon meaning that both student and teachers understand. So, of course, the criterion should be clear upon the teacher and the student. And next is observable. Each criterion describes a quality in the performance that can be perceived, seen, or heard, usually by someone or other than the person performing. So, observable, it means the performer must be clear speech and strong voice the performers to understand their performance, not only the teacher who hears or the presenter, but also the audience. So, next is distinct from one another. Each criterion identifies a separate aspect of the learning outcomes the performance is intended to assess. So, in this characteristic, make sure each criterion is distinct. Although the criteria for a single task will understandably be related to one another, there should not be too much overlap between them. So, then next is complete. Means all the criteria together describe the whole of the learning outcomes the performance is intended to assess. So, it means na kompleto mo maayos ang iyong performance or nasunod mo yung ibang characteristic ng rubrics para maging successful ang resulta nito. Then, the last one is able to support and the last one is able to support description along continuum of quality. Each criterion can be described over a range of performance level. So, in this characteristic, dapat sinusuportahan ng bawat performance para mas magaling at mahasa pa ito sa pagganap. That's all.